so sorry. I am so sorry.
That's
Hands
all.
on the buttons. No hands on the buttons.
It is all good. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Get Free and Become Wealthy, Why Changing Your Mindset is Crucial to Accessing Abundance in Your Life. This is part 2 of our meeting with the beautiful and talented Priestess Sekhmet. So before we ended, we were briefly speaking about her 4-month transformation into manifesting money to her trip to Egypt. And so for those of you who are listening, we were speaking about her poverty mindset, and this is how she started to begin to work through the psychology of it so that she could actually get to a place of getting her trip and being able to go. And so Priestess Sekhmet, if you could explain some more about what that process was for you and how you managed to make this happen.
Okay, so, at the time I wanted to go to Egypt. I had been studying some of the glyphs and really coming into my priestly duties and wanting to understand ancient Egypt or Kemet, more intimately. And I saw a lot of people taking tours and going. And I did not have the money to just up and go like that. And this had been going on for several years. And so I was working on my business. And I think it's important that we have something, like I said earlier, of value to offer, something that we can market, a product or something that we can sell, a job or whatever it is. It's good and better if you have something, because I'm not by any way insinuating that money just comes out of thin air. But if you have avenues and sources of income that you can pull from or draw from, you can definitely accelerate them and cause money to flow through them, through these funnels, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But my funnels wasn't really flowing. had not been flowing the way that I wanted them to for a while. And I was meditating. And as I was meditating, I had this vision of myself in front of the Great Pyramid. And I saw myself sitting on top of a camel. And I told some people walking by, please take a picture of me so I can send it to my children. And so when I came out of that meditation and I realized what I was seeing, I started intuitively knowing I'm going to Egypt. And that it's going to be the beginning of my journey of wealth building and manifesting, so that this is one of the legacies that I can leave for my children, is that you can do whatever you want to. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And for too long, I've been sitting back, waiting for my ship to come in, waiting for my day to come, waiting for my success to take off, waiting and waiting, instead of taking authority over the energy and commanding the time to be now and putting my faith out there and believing in myself and in my ability and my power to attract money to me. And this is when, before I go into Reverend Ike came into my life at this time, and this was a big turning point for me. But first, I had to put my faith out there. And I felt like the universe was telling me, you can go to Africa if you want to go to Africa. You don't have to wait until something happens for you to be able to go. First, you have to make a decision. First, you have to have an intention. Now, once you make it your intention to go, you're going to go. And so I said, okay, I'm going to make it my intention. But I need a sign, because I don't have, $4,000 to just up and go right now. If I did have $4,000, I can think of a lot of other things that I might do with it. But if this is really a vision that I'm having from my ancestors and it's meant to be, then give me a sign. Start me off with $1,000. If I get extra $1,000 unexpected income coming into me, then I'll take that money and I'll put it down on this tour and I'll start preparing to go. And within 2 weeks, that's exactly what happened. I got that $1,000 unexpectedly. And when I got that $1,000, it was so unexpected. The first thought that I had was like, party, like, oh, I got some extra money. And then it came to me, didn't you say if you had an extra $1,000, you were gonna go to Kemet, Egypt? And I thought, oh my God, I got the $1,000. Oh my God. And so this is This is how faith works, okay? This is how the power of suggestion works. This is how setting your intention works. You have to put your faith out there. You have to put your confidence out there. You have to be willing to let something go in order to get that energy flowing to bring something back. And so I could have took that $1,000 and did something else with it, but I didn't. I took the $1,000 and I put it down on the tour, and that's when the energy started working. And that's when ideas just started coming to me. One of the first things that I did, and I would have never done this, ever. I got a sign and I painted it and I said, going to Africa. Go to Africa. Oh my God, so many people gave me money to go. It was incredible. I brought all my tarot stuff and my magic stuff and everything down at the lake, and I put up my sign, and I sat out there during the summertime, and I was just doing readings for people and getting to know people and get the energy going. So many people were rooting for me. People were giving me cash money left and right. Money started flowing to me. And this the whole time I was listening to Reverend Ike. And Reverend Ike was the one that really was programming my mind. And I listened to him every day. And I just started taking that mindset, because remember, I'm getting in now. I'm $2,000, $3,000 into this, and I can't come up short. You know, I have to pay for this whole thing to manifest this trip. And I just stayed focused. I stayed dedicated, and I kept my confession up. Money comes to me easily. I'm in Africa. I did specific meditations to help program my mind to get there. I drew a painting. No, I painted an art piece, actually, of me standing in front of the Great Pyramid. And just the mere power of me focusing my intention on me, projecting myself in front of the Great Pyramid, made that happen.
Yeah, because there's so much focus, and like as an artist myself, like there is a lot of like energy that goes into creating an art piece. And so like when you have to take all that time to focus and actually like, you know, like in a pyramid, right, it's very geometrical, right? So like even just creating the sacred geometry of making a pyramid, of doing the little bricks, of creating, I don't know what I've never seen this painting, so like whatever the backstrip was behind the pyramid, and then you on top of it, right? There are layers. I always tell people there are levels to the levels, right? And like you had to really like create discipline for yourself, right? Because like that was something that I hear that like, you know, it's really easy sometimes when you ask for a sign for the universe and then they give you a sign and your first initial reaction is like, oh my God, like I can relax, this bill can be taken care of, right? Or this thing can be taken care of first. And then you have to literally be like, actually, hold on, like, universe, you gave this to me as a gift for a specific reason. And like, I feel like that's even something I've done before, where like I will have asked for a sign, but then like I'm the person who didn't have enough discipline to like go forward with it, and then everything started falling apart for me, right? Because I think that's what happens sometimes is like people will do something and they'll start to do manifestation work, and then the signs will start to come, but then they just stop because like they get some of it and then they use it for something else, and like it's like their attention shifts and their attention and intention shifts, because now the money and the flow of energy is being misdirected from its original place.
That's why you have to commit. You know, you really have to take that money and you have to commit that money to the project. You know, invest yourself. You know, and you can't turn back. I mean, once I put that money down on that there was no turning back after that. But I'll also say this, that yes, when it comes to setting intentions, it takes a lot of focus. And so the whole year leading up to this, I have been practicing meditation. I have been developing a system that I call the FIRM system. And it's focus, intention on release and manifestation. And so what blocks us sometimes is the failure to release. And so we may be focused for a minute and we may set our intention, but if we don't release our fears, if we don't release our anxiety, if we don't release our worry and all of that negative, you know, backward emotion that blocks us and hinders us, that is what keeps us from committing. And so I was training myself already leading up to this situation to focus my intentions, to do my releasings, to receive my manifestation. So there were manifestations that I was building by using mojo and other types of money magic, burning ancestor money, all learning how to focus my intention. And then as I'm working, things that come up, fears come up, anxiety comes up, and I know that I have to release those if I want to manifest. I understand how energy works. You have to have focus, which is more like the mental realm. That's the air quality of manifesting. Then you have to have intention, right? And that's really like your action. That's taking steps, moving forward, that I am going to do this. That's like your fire. Then your emotions. This is where the release comes in. You have to have the water element as well. You have to have those emotions to be free and to flow. And it can't be emotions of lack and anxiety and worry. And when those things come up, you have to release them. And once you release it, then you make room for anticipation and excitement and energy and knowing and feeling good, knowing that you're going to get to your goal and bam, you're manifested.
That's what's up. Because it is that there is a process. That's my, when I spoke earlier about my difficulty with fear, right? Like I would feel, right, an intuitive guidance, like, okay, like let's do this thing. And then all of a sudden, like I would feel the knot in my stomach or the lump in my throat or like just the general nervousness, right? Of just like, oh my God, like I have all these debts and everything. Like I can't even think about doing this first. But like in doing my own manifestation work and working with a coach, and because I work with a coach, I've seen healers, I've worked with, even therapists, like when you want it, they're like, if you want to do well on your test, you have to relieve the pressure of the anxiety of doing well on the test. You just have to know and accept that this is what you're going to do, understand, like focus on like the task at hand. You're going to take the steps, which is like actually doing and fulfilling the, like taking the test itself, like going through your emotions of like, yes, I can do this. Like it may suck. Like I had to do a lot of work to get here, but like I know I'm going to get the A. And when you do all that effort, like that's what happens. And like, I had to go to counseling for test anxiety, and it's still something that I like occasionally deal with. But like it is like that, like some people, like I failed really hard on tests growing up because of my inability to focus. And because of my inability, like it's not like I couldn't study and like I didn't know it. It's just I couldn't focus enough and release my fears to actually do well enough on it.
That's beautiful that you shared that, and I think that that's common. It's for a lot of us, especially that grew up in urban communities, went to public school. Focus is a big issue. Learning how to focus. We're not taught how to focus. You either got it or you don't. And like I said earlier, I didn't graduate from high school, so I didn't have a high school experience, and I became an adult and I had all these challenges and I did not know how to focus. And I realized if I didn't learn how to focus, I wasn't going to be able to support myself. I wasn't going to be able to have what my peers had and being able just to provide and have something tangible in life. It was going to take some focus. So I realized that was the main thing for me. And that's how I started working this firm system. Focus, intention, release, manifestation. Focus, I really got into focus through meditating. Meditating is what really, really helped me to focus. And also hypnosis, self-hypnosis, learning how to program my mind. They tell us that the television programs us all the time, that it sends out subliminal signals through advertising that reaches certain resources of our brain and subconsciously programs us to want to buy, to want to consume. We all agree that that's happening. We all agree that the human brain functions that way and that we can suggest things to ourselves, subliminally program them into our consciousness, and then, get what we want or react and respond the way that we want to. So that's what I started doing. I started programming my own mind on focusing. And I took focusing very seriously as if my life depended on it. No excuses, no distractions, learning how to focus. No matter what happens, something tries to throw me off track. My own mind tries to undermine my true intention. push it out the side, bring my mind back to focusing, and using ritual as a way to practice focusing, using artwork and creative art as therapy to get my mind to concentrate. Also, using the tarot. I suggest the tarot to anyone as an amazing tool to learn how to meditate and learn how to focus.
I agree. I feel like the tarot in particular has so much symbology. There's a strong history. There is, as somebody who works, I love stories, like I learn really well by story and by hearing potential. And like for people who aren't familiar with the tarot, like there are 22 cards. It's a major arcana, which goes through levels of consciousness. And, in moving through consciousness, like in understanding the tarot, you can get a stronger and better understanding of the self based on like what shows up in your readings, and like, it's split into everyday occurrences and then the consciousness and like how these everyday things are playing a part of your consciousness. And so like, I feel like there is, especially if you're from a church community like we were, like the tarot is, it's not necessarily propagated as something you should do. It is the devil's work. Unless you're like a metaphysical Catholic, there's a lot of Catholics I know who use the tarot, and the tarot is very well used in Jewish traditions as well. And so like it's not necessarily something that is just in the cult, it's just a hidden thing. Like tarot is widely accepted by many cultures, and that's part of understanding and opening up your perspective and being open to like trying new things. Because like had I decided to not look into the tarot or get tarot readings, right, when I was like 2 or 3 years ago, like I wouldn't be anywhere near I am today, because I really have always wanted to understand like where is my own thought process heading, and if there's a way I could change that. And I feel like that's the number one thing that people have to even just decide. And that's why, I entitled this, like why part of the title is why changing your mindset is crucial to accessing abundance in your life. Because like you can just throw affirmations on something, but it's not going to do anything. Like you can just do actions without intentions and it's not going to do anything. You can just feel something about something and it's not going to manifest. You're maybe not going to take actions on it, and it's probably going to cause you to not focus, really. Like it's probably like emotions sometimes are the biggest distraction. And so it's like, that's why I really appreciate you putting in the framework, of firm, of focus, intention, release of said emotions, right? Because you have to get them out. Like you experience the emotions because they're there for you, and they're necessary for you to learn and know. Because like I was explaining to Priestess Sekhmet earlier, pain in particular is how I started to explore other possibilities, because the pain that I was experiencing in my day-to-day life, like from like my own physical disability, from my own, like inability to walk, like the things that I had experienced in my life, the violence that I had seen, the poverty in my own community growing up in East Oakland, like the violence that I was seeing all around the world. Like I wanted to know why, and like what could I do about it to make this pain different. And just like anything in the body, pain is just a signal for you to divert and to shift your attention and to move into a new direction. And it wasn't until I started questioning my own pain and like wanting to understand from my own self where that was, that like I could even start to claim anything. And what I learned from doing my own meditations, my own yoga and physical therapy, and seeing, because even at Stanford, like before I got to a place where I saw the metaphysical aspects of this, like Spirit led me to take a CBT class where I learned mindfulness. Yeah. And I was given multiple studies on like how mindfulness works. I was given tools on like progressive muscle relaxation, which is this release, right? Of being able to learn how to give the release. I was given binaural beats. Like I was given all these things, like, which is programming, the mind. But my brain, like Spirit already knew that I wouldn't have gotten it through the magical and spiritual part. I had to learn the science first. And then once I got the science, it made it so much more easier for me to be like, okay, astrology, okay, tarot, okay, this. And like, that's the thing, like Spirit will meet you where you're at to help you manifest something. And that's what it will give you, signs that only you will pay attention to. It will give you messages that only you will pay attention to. It knew I was going to pay attention to some pain. Right. Like, because I felt a certain way about pain. And so it knew that that was something in particular that I would really pay attention to. And so I feel like, especially in our own communities, like, like we were talking about this earlier, people of color communities are in a lot of pain, and we experience a lot of violence. We see a lot of violence. Like this is our day-to-day reality. When you were experiencing your own poverty mindset, how was this even interacting in your own day-to-day? How did you experience this type of violence to even yourself in your own like ability to just yeah, and I can even see it in your eyes. Like you was like, yes, like yeah, the fuck.
Yeah, I'm from Oakland too. So I think for a lot of us that grew up, in poverty in Oakland, that's a common thread that we all have is pain. And like I said in the beginning, most of my family is deceased. And so the church became my family. And most of my family died from drug addiction and alcoholism. And then there were some murders sprinkled in between. And then I was kidnapped and sexually assaulted when I was 12 years old. So all of that trauma and grief, and loss, and destitution, religion alone, was not enough to really heal my heart and heal my soul, and so I started to recognize that my pain was getting in the way of my ability to manifest. And so I was able, for myself, understand the sciences and apply myself to understanding the sciences. Like you said, tarot is a science, astrology is a science, magic is a science. These are all ancient practical sciences that the scientific community is now willing to open up to and bring out into the public now that the church is starting to kind of complete its cycle out and allowing the real natural sciences, to come forth. And so releasing was the technique that I discovered, and art. I'll tell you how I discovered art as a therapy is when I started learning how to release. I started releasing with salt baths and crystals. And I started learning how to use crystals for releasing. And I started also learning how to transfer my pain into objects. Now, this is a Christian principle that Jesus taught in the Bible, or that we use in the Bible to teach. It's really a metaphysical principle of moving energy from one thing to another thing. So when the Bible talks about casting out spirits or casting out demons, at one point these demons were cast into a herd of swine, and the herd of swine ran over the mountainside into the ocean. And that was because you can't just cast energy out and just expect it to just go away. It's going to come back to its source. Okay? So you have to direct it somewhere with intention, because that is our God-given right, our creative power to be able to direct and move energy with our mind. So I started learning how to take my pain and transfer it out of my body into things like crystals and stones and flowers. And so then I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? Pain is energy. In fact, it's very intense. And why should I just be throwing it away and just getting rid of it? It's the most strongest energy that I really have, next to anger, which is very powerful energy. So I said, you know what? This is fuel. I could actually use this energy as fuel. And so I started, instead of just directing my pain into inanimate objects, I started directing it into creative art projects. And this is when I started creating some of my most beautiful art projects, including my wish jars. So I created these wish jars that were like an Aladdin's lamp, because I love fantasy and I love imagination, and I love those old movies when we were kids, and you just rub the lamp and the genie comes out and the magic happens and you can have these wishes. And I started thinking, this could be a therapy where I could take pain as a fuel and an energy source to create. So instead of just rolling up in a ball and getting caught up in my feelings, I can direct this energy into a creative art project. And then I can create something that can help me take my mental focus and put my intention into something. What if I can make my own magic lamps? But instead I called them these wish jars. So I started using these wish jars as a way to write out my wishes and my intentions and put them in there and focus my intentions with my releases. So I would also write out what I want to release as an intention. And I would do this with the new moon every month. And I started developing a rhythm of focus, intention, releasing, and manifesting. I know that was a long story, but
I think
I hope I made my point.
that's so helpful, because it's exactly that. We were talking about transmuting the pain, and that's part of alchemy. I think that a lot of people just hear alchemy and they're like, oh, lead and gold. But as an alchemist, as someone who does this work personally with my own clients and the people, my own family members, alchemy is turning trauma and pain into profit. It's that simple. And there is a lot of discussion of needing to transmutate. Transmutation happens when you take an energy that is no longer serving you,
Right.
and you turn it into something that will profit you and your own communities.
Right.
And that's what I do as my own business, as Cosmic Memoranda. I personally work to help people move through pain, and they can make money off of that.
Right.
And help themselves and their communities and the people that they want to take care of. Because especially in our people, in people of color communities, we are very creative. We are the number one source of turning our pain into music, into art, into
paying for profit.
Yes, exactly. And it is exactly that. And we are natural born alchemists. And it's a disservice when you do not claim it as such, when you do not claim your inherent magic of taking your pain and turning it into something beautiful. Even if someone's not buying it immediately, even if someone's not doing you need to claim that this is that.
Yeah.
And you will move through and out of your pain by continuing to do this. And holding the intention that sitting it in your brain no one's going to buy my products, or no one's going to get my readings, or no, because maybe it took you a long time to figure out what your niche was, or maybe it took you a long time to figure out how you could even sell anything from a place of pain or disability. But once you have it, you can't go back to no one's going to get it, no one's going to buy it, because then the universe is responding to that too. It's going to give you the sense of oh, okay, because a lot of people hear abundance and they're like, abundance, but abundance is a lot of, right? And so if you're not really sending strong intentions of what abundance is and how it's going to work for you, you're just going to get a lot more pain. And that just means you're going to end up with a lot more work to do to create that profit that you actually want.
That's true. And I started a little catchphrase, and it says, pain is energy, use it.
Yeah. And I think because it can be really difficult for a lot of people to move through the pain. And for me, it took me at least 2 years, of me doing work, of just doing my own internal work to make this happen. And so I really encourage everyone around, who's listening, and people who are watching this in the future, that your pain is here to serve you. It may seem like the worst thing in your life and the worst thing in the world, but the pain that was supposedly the pain that has been passed on to you, it was given to you because the ancestors know that you can turn it into something beautiful and that you can support the community with it.
Yes, it's true.
And it's as simple as that. And once you make the decision, because it's a mental, once you make the decision and you decide that this is something I'm going to move forward with, you will get the spiritual guidance and the insight to move forward with it. And the same way that you manifested this, you ask for a sign. Like I said earlier, the universe will give you signs that only you will pay attention to. And this method that she's providing, the things that she did were specific to Priestess Sekhmet. I would like everybody to understand the process in which she did this, because it's that simple of having focus, having intentions, releasing strong emotions, and manifesting. And it may take you months through each step, but every single day that you work through it, you're changing your reality, and your reality is going to start to mirror, and it's going to start to shift. And for some people, if they make a strong dedication and put strong energy, it can happen faster. And for others, it will take just a little bit extra, because that's just how you have to learn. For me, I had to have the science first, right? I had to be taught why and how this even works before I could even believe in it. I had to have proof before I could have belief. So that's how my journey was, finding proof first. And then now that I have enough proof, I believe wholeheartedly. It makes sense to me, and I can see the signs everywhere. But so I just really encourage everybody who's listening, you know, that this is something that you can move through, that there is support for you. People like Priestess Sekhmet exist to help you even change your own mind. Maybe if you have a hard time programming your own mind, there are hypnotherapists out there. There are astrologers like me. There are tarot readers. There are different people who will like remove things and clear blockages for you so that you can start to have that momentum to actually make this happen. So you do not have to feel like you're totally alone in all of this, because you're not. They're like, and ancestors have you. They have your back. Like they will make sure that if this is something that you really want, they will part the ocean for that to make it happen. And so, you know, from all of this, I really like to, I'm trying to think if there's anything, any loose ends that I would like to come back to. But I think, like, you know, we had spoke earlier, it was a very, I think as a first thing to hear, it might be hard for a lot of people to have heard that being poor is a sin and that pain is something that can just be magically worked through. But it's not. It's not something that can be magically worked through. Magic is a science. There's a step-by-step. There are hypotheses that you have to draw. You have to like test things to make sure that they work out. Some of the things that you test will fail, and that's part of you learning the lesson. Then you have to just reformulate your hypothesis and go through your observations, go through the recording process, go through everything, so that way you can see that it happens. There is no need to feel like this is a personal attack. And when people tell you information that is helpful for you to hear, you know, like, it's not an attack on you and where you're at. It's just information to give you pain, right? We spoke about the pain. It's just pain to help you redirect. Yeah. It's not an attack. It's just a shift where this is the shift. And yeah. You're experiencing some internal stuff. If you're someone who doesn't necessarily like connect to your intuition too much, but what we're saying is like causing some weird feelings to happen within you, pay attention to that. Start recording what those things are, observing what similar things around you happen to that. Make a hypothesis of why this is even happening, and then ask for confirmation, and then test that confirmation out, and then just like wait and rest. If you have too much nervous energy, do what she did, paint it out, you know, wish jar it out, you know, like exercise it out, find a release, like literally release. It's just keeping it into yourself, keeping all of these terrible feelings, the depression, the anxiety, all of that. If you don't have a release for it, you're not going to be able to manifest. And so find people to help you release, and then that way you can make better decisions, and your mind will be at a better place for you to actually have what it is that you want.
Amazing. Intention, release, and manifestation.
Yes.
It's amazing to be closing the interview out on that note, because, you know, the firm system is a vision that I have for the world, especially for healing trauma and people that have disabilities and issues with focusing. So just watching this manifest, you know, is a result of focused intention and prior releasing. So I'm really touched to hear you catching on to the spirit of the firm system.
It's like, I like the work that you do speaks to me so deeply, and like, you know, because we have the common thread of where we've come from and the things that we've experienced are similar, you know, I feel like a lot of our stories are very relatable. Like our experiences are unique, but the story has a similar pattern that many of us have followed through. And, you know, I am just really grateful that we've had the time to meet and connect and be able to provide this for people to understand and learn from, because like you said, like, you know, I too have a vision of providing information, free information, because I understand that a lot of this information you have to pay for. So like providing this free information for you exactly where you're at and meeting it where you are, so you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it at home, you know, like you can watch it wherever, at the library, you know, anywhere, and know that like, because if you're watching this, you already made a decision to change your mindset, and this is just further confirmation of how to get those things done. And as such, like, you know, Priestess Sekhmet, I would love to give you just a little bit of time right now to share how people can get a hold of you, and how people can, you know, if they want to work with you, if this is something that they feel like they can't do on their own, how can they reach you so they can begin to create the momentum in their lives to move forward?
Thank you. Well, if you want to connect with me, you can always visit me at my website. It's www.houseofsekhmet.com. And the information should be provided with this video. And you can also reach me on Facebook. I'm on facebook.com/Priestess Sekhmet, Sekhmet. And I also have a Facebook group there as well, and you can come check me out on Facebook groups, Priestess Sekhmet.
And also your YouTube, right?
Because oh yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. Way to get there. Thank you. My YouTube is youtube.houseofsekhmet.com. youtube.houseofsekhmet.com. And I'm there to do tarot readings for you. I can answer any question that you have about any subject, whether it's love, money, relationships with the family, releasing spiritual issues, paranormal issues, whatever questions or insight or spiritual guidance that you need, I can assist you with that. And I'm also a certified hypnotherapist because I really wanted to help people not only see what their issues are or what their mental blocks are or their spiritual blocks are or even emotional blocks are, but help give you the tools to release them. So come and see me, Priestess Sekhmet, at houseofsekhmet.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And like one more thing was like, as a thank you for everyone who is watching, Priestess Sekhmet does have a free gift. So if you do buy her service, if you decide to book with her, you can bring one friend along. And that friend, you know, if you have a friend who is disabled, who's sick, who has difficulties, you know, like getting the information because they don't have the funding, please, please, please sponsor somebody. And both of you guys come together and get some healing and find the support and networking that you need to get this done. Because we are all waiting for your greatness. And we know that whatever it is that you decide to bring into this world is going to really help to heal those of us who really need it. So again, thank you everybody for watching. This is Get Free and Become Wealthy, why changing your mindset is crucial to accessing abundance in your life. And thank you so much, Priestess Sekhmet, for joining us. I really appreciated our interview and our time together. And I hope you have a really blessed evening because now I feel really charged and excited to, like, you know, set some new intentions in life.
Wonderful. Namaste.
Have a great evening. Good night, everybody.
Good night.